Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast. We are going to cover, something we know a lot about. Maybe not. Weed. That's right. Marijuana and the Olympics. We're going to talk Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani. We're talking NCAA basketball, NBA Finals, NHL Stanley Cup, and a lot of NFL talk today. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove Podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Welcome into another edition of the Sports Stove Podcast. We are live on a Tuesday evening. Lots of stuff going on in the sports world. What everybody always dreams of doing, watching football players play golf, going on right now as we speak. Then you've also got things like Olympic issues happening. NBA Finals start tonight. A lot of things happening in the sports world. I'm joined again by my dad. He is on traveling duty up in Ohio. He's covering all our Ohio teams for us here at the Sports Stove Podcast. We pay him mighty well for that. Dad, I was going to offer you $500 a month to promote my gym, but I got bought out by a guy in Miami apparently, and he's already offered that to the Miami football players, is what you're reporting. So, are you a member of that gym?
No, not yet.
But after you see a Miami football player advertise it, I'm sure you're going to run right down the road and get on that, aren't you?
You never know. I am in Miami County, so.
There you go, Miami County, Ohio. It's all the same. Dad, tell our people about our wonderful sponsors at Yeti Coolers.
Hey, summer is here, and Yeti has all the great products to help you have great weekends there in the summer. Got the Rotary 24 hard cooler to store your food and your drinks in. Got the Rambler 12-ounce Colster can insulator to keep your drinks cold, and the Crossroads 22 luggage for your weekend trips. You may say Yeti has luggage. Yeti has all kinds of great products that will enhance your summer experience. So go click on the link in the YouTube description or in the podcast notes and find out all these great deals that Yeti has.
We're excited to be partnered up with Yeti Coolers, and they got a lot going on right now, so make sure you go visit. Use those links, though, please, if you would. That'll let them know that we sent you, and we would greatly appreciate it. Dad, I want to start off with a topic today that is not something that we talk about very often, and that is the subject of marijuana, the weed, and its effect on the upcoming Summer Olympics. Sha'Carri Richardson, a track star for the USA, has now completely been shut out of the Olympics, and most part due to testing positive for marijuana. In this, she says, well, I lost my mother, I believe it was, and grieving. I smoked some marijuana to help the grieving process, and the Olympics didn't care. The United States committee did not care, and they said, no, you cannot participate. And then by being left off the relay team, she officially now is out of the Olympics coming up here in just a couple of weeks. And I just wanted to share a couple thoughts with this. First of all, as I think I've made clear in my Twitter posts and in other podcasts, I am not a pro-marijuana person. I'm not for marijuana. I'm not for the legalization of it. There's, the phrase that it can be used for medical reasons. I understand that, but let's face it, the large majority of people who are pushing for the legalization of marijuana don't care about the medical purposes. They just care about other things as well. But I have to admit that this is one that I don't understand. I know there's a rule in place, and we can always talk about this because our generation that's currently growing up in America doesn't seem to understand that there are consequences for your actions. But having said that, even though there was a rule, you look at the Olympics and you look at some of the things that they are allowing athletes to do. You have someone who tested positive. It was not illegal where she was. So she's not doing anything against the law, just against the Olympic rules. And in most cases, I would probably stand against Richardson in the situation here. But this year, we continue to see just the ludicrousy of the hypocrisy that goes on within sports and within the Olympic committees and things like that. And the one thing I really point to, Dad, is that this year, for the first time ever, a male will be competing in a female sport. And this person has transitioned, and listen, at the end of the day, if we're going to let dudes compete in girls' sports, what's wrong with a little weed here and there from one of the competitors as well? Again, I'm not pro marijuana. I don't think it should be legalized. I don't think people should use it. We had Sam Alvey on, the UFC fighter, several weeks ago, and he said as much. It's dangerous. It's not good for athletes. There are things that can help in certain ways, sure, but overall it is not good for the athlete, and overall it's not good for a person either. It can cover up some pain. It can do some things. Sure, I'm not saying that everything about it is horrible, but I look at the situation with Sha'Carri Richardson, and I think she is what could be a massive star for the USA. She could win gold medals. She worked hard for years to train to get to this point, and we're going to take that away from her because of one thing. Is there not a way to discipline? Is there not a way to say you broke the rules, so here's the discipline other than you cannot participate in the Olympics? In my opinion, I think it's too harsh. I think it's too much. Yes, she broke a rule, but should this rule breaking completely rip away everything that she worked for? To me, it's not that big of a deal. There should be discipline. It should not be taking her out of the Olympics altogether. And if we're going to say, no, we're going to hold strict to the rules, well, okay, but let's look around a little bit and see maybe we're off on some things, and let's get back to what's important, and let's try to help people as opposed to just punish them for it and kick them to the curb, so to say, and leave them hanging. Dad, Olympic athletes train. It's not a 1-year thing. It is nonstop training for years to get to this point. I just don't think that this should be something that she should have to pay for as deeply as she is. You have any thoughts on Sha'Carri Richardson and the whole situation?
Well, I mean, I see your point, and I think it's probably right. I was a little surprised when I heard about it because I think, isn't it the NFL Players Association? There's some of these now, they're not even going to test for marijuana. So yeah. I kind of thought that an issue was going away. There's a lot of big drug problems in the Olympics and people being banned for using substances, and that's been going on for years. It'll be interesting. The Summer Olympics, I grew up loving the Olympics, both the Winter and the Summer Olympics, but it's changed so much. I've really gotten tired of the Summer Olympics. Again, it's so political. It's so agenda driven. We're going to hear about things like you talked about more than anything else. Now, strangely enough, in the last week or so with the qualifying, I've watched some of that on TV. And when I watched the track people racing to see who would get in, it reminded me of the old days. Like you said, people who have trained for years, people who were in tears because they finally made the Olympic team. If we can get down to just Olympic athletes, who's the fastest runner, who can throw the farthest, who can do that, that would be great. But it changed years ago. I didn't agree with the boycott. I don't think it helped what they said they were boycotting for. And I think it sent the Olympics into a spiral when that happened. Then we've had other boycotts, other countries, everything like that. And the Olympics have definitely gotten away from what it started out to be. There was abuse, and there was abuse by other countries. There's no doubt about that. And you do have to make it fair for everyone. And that is a challenge for the Olympic Committee. But I can see what you're talking about with, the track runner here.
I mean, again, and I don't want to come off as someone who's pushing for marijuana to be and for every Olympian and stuff like that. But is there not some sort of punishment other than you cannot participate?
I don't. You would think so. Again, this was up to the United States Olympic Committee, correct? Or was this
I
an
believe
Olympic
so.
decision?
No, I believe it was United States. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean,
man, it's just so hard. It's so I feel for her. I honestly do. And I think it's, the problem is now everybody's like, oh, she should be allowed to smoke weed. That's not what I'm saying. But and I had someone tell me, well, if you let her in, then it was all the athletes would do it. So there has to be a way. I guess that's one way to stop it. But you wonder if in 4 years it's going to matter anymore. In 4 years, the rules could be completely different. You look back on this and go, well, what in the world? She could have won America gold medals. Instead, she's going to have to sit at home and watch. And I just, to me, it's just a little too much in on this. Let's move on to Major League Baseball and everything going on in the baseball world. The All-Star break is coming up fast. Let's start with Shohei Ohtani, first player ever to be voted in as both a batter and a pitcher in the All-Star game. Of course, he'll be the designated hitter for the AL, and he'll also pitch for him. What Shohei Ohtani's doing is really, really special, I think. His talent is being shown, and I wonder how much longer it'll take us to get someone else that can do both as well. You would think the athletes that are coming up through the systems and things like that, you've got kids now that can pitch and bat. You would think it's going to be more prevalent in the coming years, maybe, and we'll start seeing it more in 5 to 10 years, something like that. I don't know. But what do you feel? How are you viewing Shohei Ohtani right now?
I mean, like I said, he's a tremendous player. Again, I'm, a little surprised. I think, he definitely is a great hitter and apparently is, a very, very good pitcher. I hope he is better than whoever got left out of the All-Star game because of it. I mean, I wonder if there's a little bit of gimmick to this, but he's a great athlete, great player. People will definitely want to watch him do both in the All-Star game. And I think you're right. I think we could see more players doing this if it's something they aspire to. A lot of these kids, that are good pitchers play both positions in high school, and some of them are really good hitters. I remember, again, I was around in high school with Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray was a really good hitter as well as a great pitcher in high school. But it seems like in our country, you decide one or the other. You're either going to spend all your time working on your pitching or you're going to leave pitching alone and become a hitter. There's definitely people that got the talent. He's not the only guy that has the talent to do it. But, again, there'll be a lot of questions about durability. How long will he be able to play doing this from there? But, it's a great story. It'd be fun to watch in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, you think even, a scenario where he can't pitch as a starting pitcher anymore, but maybe he can still pitch as a closer or in relief and still bat. His batting numbers are unquestionably earn him a spot in the All-Star game. Pitching, he's pitched for 60 innings. He's got 83 strikeouts. ERA is 3.60, so not bad. And I'm sure you can find some numbers that are a little bit better than his in the pitching perspective, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Baseball needs superstars, and Shohei Ohtani is a superstar as it sits right now, and I think it's a good situation for baseball, and I don't think it was out of reason for him to be at both positions in the All-Star game, where you could say maybe in the past somebody was just completely did not deserve to be there. I wouldn't say that for Shohei, even as a pitcher from there. Let's talk about baseball as a whole right now. As we sit today at this recording, we've got in the American League, the Boston Red Sox are up 4.5 games on Tampa. The Yankees are down in 4th place in the division. That's still surprising. Tampa in 2nd, Toronto in 3rd there. In the Central, the White Sox hold a 6-game lead over the Indians. And in the West, Houston, a 3.5 game lead over Oakland as well. In the American League, Dad, what are you seeing right now? What's standing out to you, I guess, in the American League?
Well, I was kind of looking at it, because we highlighted all the different divisions. One team that's probably surprising a little bit in the American League, and they're not in the hunt yet right now, but would be Seattle. I don't think that's one, and they're doing pretty well. They're in a good division, a good division over there. We did talk about Houston. Would they rebound? I think they have rebounded. They're going to be a real factor. There's no doubt about that. The White Sox can hold. I think they can hold on without any problem. Cleveland has had a pretty good year. Slipped a little bit in the last week or so, but I think it'll come down to be an interesting race. No doubt about that. A lot of people sad, a lot of people happy about the Yankees, so that one goes both ways. I don't think anybody expected Boston to be the team that was way ahead there either. So American League has given us some surprises.
Yeah, Houston, they're the best team, I think, in the American League. They're still record-wise below Boston, but not by much. And I just think they're the best team, the best pitching staff, the best offense that is their complete team. You mentioned Cleveland. They lost 7 straight, so that's why I kind of chuckled when you said that. But they're still in it there in the Central. And you're right, Boston. To me, Boston and San Francisco are the two teams leading their divisions that I question, can they hold on for the rest of the year? Boston has probably a better chance just because that division isn't as strong as the National League West is. Let's go to the National League. The Mets and Washington battling it out in the East. The Mets have a 4-game lead. Atlanta behind 4.5. Philadelphia behind 4.5 as well. Then you've got in the Central, Milwaukee kind of took control of the Central there for a week, but they've lost 2 straight. And the Cincinnati Reds are on a 5-game winning streak. They're 6 games back. The Chicago Cubs, 10 in a row. They've lost now. Not looking good. After they really came alive and took control, it looked like in the Central, they've immediately fallen back down. Then you've got San Francisco in the West. The Dodgers just a half game out now. San Diego, 4.5 back from there. So I'll ask you this. We talked about this a little bit with Kevin a couple episodes ago on fantasy reasons why. But in the National League, who in the second half of the season do you see as taking a step forward and really solidifying their spot? And who do you see falling off after the All-Star break?
Well, I think I think Milwaukee's got themselves in a good spot. So I think they can really play well because the other teams are really falling off in their division. The Reds have gotten better, but it's been very well documented with you that the Reds were going to slide after the All-Star break.
Yes.
I'm not sure Chicago's the biggest surprise is St. Louis. We talked about St. Louis being a team to really, challenge. I don't know that the Mets will hold on. Washington's a little bit of a surprise too, isn't it? That they've made a move and come up, preseason it might not have been. The Braves have not been what people thought they could be. And the Phillies, everybody thought they were going to be a little better. But I don't know that the Mets are good enough to hold on if somebody makes a run at them. In the West, the Giants, it's going to be really hard to hold on against the Dodgers. But the Giants are not ahead because the Dodgers have played bad. I mean, the Giants have played well. And if they can stay healthy, they've had Longoria out for a while. They're still doing well. They have a lot of different people contribute. They're having some good pitching from some different people. I think they'll stay in the hunt. I think the question is, will San Diego get in there too? Everyone thought it'd be LA and San Diego. And San Diego's doing well, but, that should be a very good division and should make a lot of noise in the playoffs, I think there.
Yeah, the National League West has 3 of the top 4 teams in the National League right now. The Mets are the only team over 500 in the NL East. Washington has played better as of late, but only 5 out of their last 10. The Mets' problem has been offense, but they've got the talent there, and I really think the Mets are going to turn it on in the second half Pete Alonso's starting to find his groove. Lindor, who's been horrible here this season offensively, you expect him to come back around as well. So I think the Mets will take off in the second half. And then the West is the same thing. I think the Dodgers will go nuts here in the second half. Although we'll get to this in just a second. Well, let's just go ahead and get to it. Trevor Bauer, he's one of the studs pitchers for the Dodgers, and he gets into some legal trouble. Now there's accusations. Nothing has been proven yet. We want to be careful not to pile on to someone till we know for sure exactly what all happened. The reports that we've read, it's not been pretty. And Trevor Bauer gets put on paid leave. And then they said this week that they don't expect him to be back once that 7 days paid leave is up. Is Trevor Bauer going to pitch again this season?
I would think so. Like you said, when the facts come out, we'll see. But unless he is really cleared, and we've talked on this podcast before, we're not tolerant at all of domestic abuse, and sports is not, and sports really can't be, and they've taken a stand on it. I know a lot in football and all professional sports, and unless something comes out where he's just really, really innocent, no, I don't think he'll be back.
Yeah, it is hard, and again, I hate to just pile on someone until we know for sure the facts of it, because that can do a lot of damage if the facts aren't true, or what we're being told is not true. It can do a lot of damage, and we don't want to do that. You're right. We have no respect, and we're not going to give any cushion to someone who hits or abuses a woman. So Trevor Bauer, he's got a lot of issues anyhow. He's got a loud mouth, and he said a lot of things, and a lot of people like him for that, and a lot of people hate him for that. And now he's in a situation, it's a real life situation that could completely end his career, could end his season. I think the Major League Baseball is going to give this through the All-Star break. I think Trevor Bauer will at least get another start unless more information comes out. I think we will see him again. But obviously, if everything comes out and what we've seen and read about is true, then yeah, he's done, and probably done for his career. That's the way things are going for the most part right now with domestic abuse. I mean, you can look at Greg Hardy from the NFL. He's now a UFC fighter because the NFL wouldn't have him. And so it's definitely something we're going to keep watching and make sure that we get all the details before we give you too much information or too much of opinion, I guess, on the whole situation. We're going to transition here in just a second, but first I want to let our people know about our sponsor, Skull Candy. And today I'd like to talk to you about the Dime earbuds. They are mini and they are mighty. Bring on those expensive Look at Me earbud brands. Dime backs down to no one. You get easy-to-use controls, a comfortable fit, and Skull Candy's signature supreme sound, all in a beautiful tiny package and for a beautiful tiny price of just $24.99. Only Skull Candy headphones are custom tuned to deliver music you can feel, from the lyrics in your soul to the bass in your bones. The Dime earbuds, $24.99, and you can get those by clicking on the Skull Candy link in the podcast notes and in the YouTube video description. And make sure you go visit Skull Candy using that link so that they know we sent you. That's a great deal. They look great. There's 4 different colors you can choose from on those earbuds. And so make sure you go visit Skull Candy and check out the Dime earbuds. All right, let's go to the NBA. NBA Finals kick off tonight. We're recording on Tuesday night, and it is currently 8:30. Basketball game tips off at 9 o'clock. The last time we checked, and I'm checking right now to see if it's been updated, is that Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, has been upgraded to questionable for the game. He was out warming up, testing the knee, and everything like that. I do not see an official word yet on whether or not he is playing tonight. So by the time you listen to this podcast, if you listen after the show, you're definitely going to already know the answer to this. But we'll see. Giannis, if he plays, gives Milwaukee a big boost. Adds a lot of talent to that team as well. Right now, Phoenix is favored to win. Chris Paul is the favorite to win MVP of the finals. Devin Booker's right behind him. Giannis is third on that list. I really want to say Phoenix. I want to see Chris Paul win. I want to see Phoenix win. I'm a Devin Booker fan. I want to see Big Blue Nation represented here as well. But I gotta have this feeling that Milwaukee's going to take this. Any thoughts on the NBA Finals starting tonight, Dad?
Well, like I said, it's great to see these two teams in it. We talked about that last week, someone that's not normally in it. And I think it'll be enjoyable to watch. Again, injuries obviously could play a part here. I would guess Giannis is a lot closer to playing, but probably they would hold him out. So they do have him for later in the series. It should be fun to watch. It should be two good teams that it's a little more like watching basketball than, even though there are superstars involved in this, since it's two teams that haven't been there, and Phoenix not in a while, then I think it'll be better to watch.
Yeah, I think if he can go, I think it makes more sense to play Giannis in game 1 and rest him in game 2. I think that gives him more rest than before game 3, as opposed to playing him in game 2 and game 3. Because you think about it, if you can steal one on the road, it changes the series. So why not come all out in game 1 of the series and try to steal that one and then see how he feels and maybe rest him game 2 before coming back in game 3. I think I'm going to make my official NBA Finals pick. I'm going to go Phoenix in 6, but my confidence level is not high on that pick. But that's what I'm going to go with. Suns in 6. Dad, do you have a pick for us?
Again, you've been a Suns fan before, and I've liked them, but I like Milwaukee, obviously because of the connection there with the Packers in Wisconsin. And so hopefully it'll be a great series, and we'll say Milwaukee in 7.
All right. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, and with you being an owner of the Green Bay Packers, I know there's a camaraderie there. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will show up during the series after he signs his contract extension later this week. We will see about all of that. NHL Stanley Cup, Tampa leads 3-1. The Montreal Canadiens took game 4, sends it back to Tampa. Of course, there's hurricanes and tropical storms pushing into the Tampa area. And so we'll see if that plays any toll on the series. I'm really surprised, Dad, the Canadian government caused a hurricane down in Florida. So we'll see. I really wanted the Canadian government to play a role in this series. They let me down. But it looks like everything's full tilt, ready to go for game 5. The storm is actually decreasing a little bit, so they're not expecting it to cause any problems with game 5. Tampa has shown they are the better team. I have facetiously said Canadians in 7. I don't believe that for a second. I think Tampa closes it out here in game 5. And Dad, I think you're on board with that as well.
Yes. Yeah. I've thought all along it would be Tampa probably in 5. I thought Montreal would probably win 1 up there maybe. And Tampa's just got a really good team. And hopefully they'll close it out. If not, then anything can happen. But,
you go back to Canada. Yeah.
In hockey, you just never know. So momentum's a funny thing there. So.
Yeah, maybe the goalie stands on his head and changes everything. Who knows? NCAA basketball, some interesting news came out. We talked about Kofi Cockburn in the last episode. He has withdrawn his name from the NBA draft. Last week, all the talk was Kofi was going to go to Kentucky if he did not get into the NBA draft. Well. He's not in the NBA draft, but I read today that Coach O, Orlando Antigua, who came over from Illinois back to Kentucky, promised that he would not take any Illinois players with him. And so now you have the debacle of what's happening here. Is Antigua even allowed to pursue Kofi Cockburn? There's been a lot of talk about Cockburn returning to Illinois. There's been other talks. Arkansas is going to be heavy in pursuing him as well. he's a difference maker on any team he goes to, whether he stays at Illinois or goes somewhere else. He's a difference maker, and it'll be interesting to see if Kentucky's allowed to pursue him. I mean, it's a moral issue. It's not a rule violation or anything like that. It's just a thing of, hey, I said I wouldn't take any Illinois players with me, and next thing you know, your best available player is going to come possibly to Kentucky with Coach O. And Chin, I don't know. As a Kentucky fan, I could care less what Antigua promised Illinois, but we want them in Lexington this season. But Kofi's not the only one that withdrew and made some noise this week. Also, Aaron Torres, I saw reported Kansas had 2 players withdraw from the NBA draft coming to Kansas, which makes them another stellar team. Dad, you like Bill Self a little better than I do. I just see this as another opportunity for Bill Self to disappoint the Rock Chalk Nation. But anyways, Kofi Cockburn not going to the pros. Do you want him to stick with Illinois, or are you okay with him going somewhere else?
Oh, I'd like for him to stick with Illinois, no doubt about that. But like I said, I'm not sure this transfer portal's a bad thing. It may work itself out because people since they can only transfer once, they could be promised something and people will be more careful about it. That is an interesting turn of events about the coach promising, he wouldn't take anybody with him. Otherwise, it makes a lot of sense for him to go there because of the assistant coaches. It'd be great if he stayed at Illinois. I know Illinois has had a couple other guys leave. I believe the other good freshman did. But they've got some guys come in too. All the good teams are going to take advantage of the transfer portal, and they'll pick up players from there. And it may give freshmen a little more time to develop, so that'll be interesting too. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, because when we talked the other day, I thought it'll be a sure thing he'd go to Kentucky. So, time will tell. In Kansas, Bill Self has not been able to win there. Again, he did well at Illinois. A little surprised he left when he did. And I know there in Lexington, he's not a real popular guy. So, but Kansas, again, one of those teams that, seems like it's always going to be competitive year after year.
Yeah, and I've talked a lot about my opinions on Coach Cal and his failures as a coach, but Bill Self is right there with him. He's had the talent, and he has not figured out how to work that talent. Now, he's had some successful seasons and some decent runs, but you look at Bill Self and you look at the where he was ranked in preseasons, he should have been a lot more successful than he has been. Let's move on to the NFL, Dad. We're getting towards the end of the podcast today. A couple quick things with the NFL. Number one, N'Keal Harry, the Patriots' first-round pick in 2019, has requested a trade. He says, I can't play here, which is what the Patriots fans have been saying for 2 years. You can't play. N'Keal Harry, 2 years, 45 catches, 414 yards, 4 touchdowns as the number 32 overall pick in the 2019 draft. Dad, if you were a general manager and not just an owner, is N'Keal Harry someone that you would pursue?
I think he's somebody you could take a chance on, but you're talking about a 6th round, 7th round pick. You're not talking anything near a 1st round, because he hasn't proved he could do that. He'll latch on with somebody, and for New England, it'd probably be better to make a trade than it would be to just cut him, obviously, outright at the end of training camp or whatever there. So, those kind of guys, it never hurts to just give a look at them or whatever. But, I don't know if I'd pursue him real hard.
Yeah, he's not done much. He's got athletic ability. He ran in for 2 touchdowns, I think, maybe 4 touchdowns his rookie year as a rusher, just on end rounds and jet sweeps and stuff like that. So there is some potential there, but he's definitely not proven he can be a reliable receiver at this point. Week 1 is fast approaching. September, it'll be here. How many rookie quarterbacks start week 1? The over-under in Vegas is 2.5, so they're saying 2 quarterbacks. which is, of course, the Jets and the Jaguars. How many quarterbacks do you think start week one?
I'd agree with that. I mean, I think two of them will. There could be a third, but I really don't know about that. I mean, I think the Jaguars and the Jets, like you said, I think Trey Lance, depending on how he looks, I think they'll wait a little bit on him. But again, I think I don't know that he has I don't know that Garoppolo is necessarily going to nudge him out. I think all five of them of the first round guys will play before the year's over. Whether that be I would expect them maybe to be the regular quarterback at the end of the year. Be real interesting in New England with Mac Jones. He may have the best shot too. The Bears, Justin Fields, I think, is one of the better guys out of the five. But, Andy Dalton, it looks like, is going to be the starter. And so it'll be interesting, like I said, I felt sorry for Justin Fields to end up at the Bears, but I feel sorry for anybody to do that. But I think he's really good. But, yeah, I think two guys starting. I think Trevor Lawrence and Wilson, starting. And even Mac Jones and Trey Lance could have a chance, depending on how, to me, Mac Jones fits in much better in the New England system, than the other quarterbacks.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is, first of all, breaking news, Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to start in Game 1 and play in Game 1 here of the NBA Finals. Back to football, the over-under at 2.5, I'm taking 3. 3 quarterbacks start week 1, rookie quarterbacks start week 1. I've got the Jets and the Jaguars. Of course, injury could change that, but Jets and the Jaguars. And I think it's Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is the third one. Shanahan has proven that he doesn't care if he hurts Garoppolo's feelings. And although the plan is to start Jimmy Garoppolo, yes, Trey Lance, if he comes out and plays spectacular in practice and plays well in his preseason reps and things like that, I think he starts week 1. I think you look back to Seattle and Garoppolo's better than Matt Flynn, but you look back to Seattle and Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll said, I just can't sit this guy. He's got to play. He's got to start. Russell Wilson gets the start over the higher paid Matt Flynn. I think in San Francisco, it's going to be the same thing. I think they love Trey Lance, and I think they're going to see stuff out of him in camp and in practice, and they're going to say, we've got to get this guy on the field. He gives us the best chance to win. I think Trey Lance starts week 1. I think Justin Fields should start week 1, but the Bears are too stupid to realize that they're going to be stuck in their ways and say, no, we said Andy Dalton was going to be the starter, so we're going to start Andy Dalton, even if he shouldn't have. And I like Andy Dalton. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got the short end of the stick in Cincinnati. But needless to say, I think 3 rookie quarterbacks start in week 1. Speaking of quarterbacks and week 1, I want to talk about the teams just quickly. Maybe give us your top 1 or 2 teams, Dad. New QBs starting. You've got the Rams, the Saints, the Bears, the Lions, Panthers, Jets, Eagles, Washington, Houston, the Colts, and the Jaguars. Who do you think is going to be the better teams out of those new quarterbacks starting for these teams? Oh, we lost him. He'll be right back with us. We're gonna fix that real quick there. So you've got these new teams. You got the Rams with Matt Stafford, has to be the one of the leading candidates here for sure, because they've got Matt Stafford. He's the best quarterback of the new quarterbacks, although that in time maybe a Trevor Lawrence overtakes that. Maybe one of the other rookie quarterbacks really shows up. But to me, looking at Matt Stafford with the Rams, you're looking at Jameis Winston with the Saints as potentially to be just absolutely phenomenal. And then Sam Darnold in Carolina is the other team that you got to look at and go, hey, there's potential here for Carolina to be really, really good this year with Sam Darnold at quarterback. Washington, throw him out the window. The quarterback's no good. Houston, throw him out the window. The quarterback's no good. Indianapolis is an intriguing team. Carson Wentz trying to revitalize his career, and maybe he can do so. I have high hopes for Indianapolis. Then you're looking at the rookies, though, and then Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia is the other one you got to look at and you kind of got to go, okay, what is Jalen Hurts going to be here in this season? Is he going to be able to be a legit quarterback in Philadelphia? Is he going to be able to compete and drive a team to victory? That's going to be something to watch for. All right, we got Dad back with us. Dad, who do you think is going to be one of the more successful teams there in the NFL that has a new quarterback?
Well, I think the Colts will be probably the most successful team. I think Matt Stafford will do really well with the Rams. I think that I'm kind of like you. I hope Carolina, I hope Darnold does well. We will see. I don't think that's a done deal. Be interesting with Jacksonville to see where things go there too. I don't expect them to maybe, be in the Super Bowl, but he could do real well, and that could really help there. But I would think the Colts should be the best one, and the Rams would be close behind there, and hopefully Carolina, I think, could be too. New Orleans that could be a mess, or that could go well. Never really know from there. Philadelphia, I don't know. Jalen Hurts could do real well, but that's not a done deal either. And new coach and new staff there. So I would think the Colts and the Rams and the Panthers are the best bets of those.
Are you more confident in Jared Goff in Detroit or Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia?
Probably neither one.
No, that wasn't one of the options.
Wasn't one of the answers. Jared Goff should do well. I don't know how the new staff's going to go. You have to look at what he has around him. Jalen Hurts could be really good too. So that'd be hard to say. Goff's probably the safer bet.
Yeah, I was big on Hurts coming out of college. I compared him to Deshaun Watson, not in talent, but in situation. He was a championship-winning quarterback. Everywhere he went, they won games, both in Alabama and at Oklahoma. He's a leader. He's a guy that the locker room likes, but he doesn't necessarily have – he might be closer to Tim Tebow, honestly, as far as talent level goes, maybe, possibly, than comparing him to Deshaun Watson, of course. But Philadelphia, they don't have a great team, but they have some good players. And they made some good upgrades this year, especially at the wide receiver position. And so Philadelphia is an interesting team, but I don't know what to do with Philadelphia. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to have to see them, what kind of system they put in place for Hurts, the new coaching staff there as well. Detroit, listen, Detroit's Detroit. We're not scared about Detroit. We're not afraid Detroit's going to win a bunch of games. Jared Goff is an okay quarterback. Does he have enough around him to succeed in Detroit? At this point, I don't think so. But we will see. Dan Campbell, man, what an interesting guy he is. To me, his shtick is going to wear off very quickly in Detroit, and he might only last a season or two as the head coach in Detroit as well. Indianapolis is a team I'm very, very high on this year, Dad. You mentioned them too. Carson Wentz, I'm a fan of his. I like the coaching staff in Indianapolis. The talent in Indianapolis is good. They got a complete team. I'm a huge Jonathan Taylor fan in the backfield in Indianapolis. So that's one to definitely watch for as well. But to me, Matt Stafford, he's the best quarterback out of the whole bunch. And it just makes sense for Matt Stafford to be, because LA's got a good team still too, amazingly enough, especially on offense. I just have to think that Stafford's going to have the best of those seasons. I'm also all in on the Jameis Winston bandwagon in New Orleans, and if they start Taysom Hill over Jameis Winston, then it's time for a new coach in New Orleans. It doesn't make any sense if they do that. I don't think they will. They'll still play Taysom Hill, but Jameis Winston will be the quarterback there. All right, Dad, let's close it out with some fantasy football, fantasy drafts coming up next month, and we're just going to look at the first overall pick today, and I've got one comment to go with it, unless you go way off the board on me here. The ADP right now, average draft position, Christian McCaffrey is going 1, Dalvin Cook 2, Derrick Henry 3, Alvin Kamara 4, and Saquon Barkley 5. Running back still heavy at the top of the draft. Dad, who do you have If you had the number one overall pick in a fantasy football league, who would you take?
I think you have to take Christian McCaffrey at this point. It's funny, though, over the years, being in fantasy football a lot, when you get the guys that are at the top, at some time they're going to drop a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't McCaffrey will, though, from there. But I've always liked Alvin Kamara, so I would put him McCaffrey, Kamara, and Barkley is kind of where I would go there. I'm just not a big Cowboy fan, and I don't understand the Dalvin Cook thing at all. I saw that, and I just don't. I mean, I don't. The Vikings have a defensive coach, and they have an average quarterback, and I don't see him take him the first pick overall. I hope somebody in our league does that.
So you mentioned the Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott, he's I think eighth overall right now in the pick. Derrick Henry with the Titans. We have no confidence in the Titans as well. And listen, here's the deal. Minnesota, you already said all the things I was thinking. To me, Dalvin Cook's not a dependable number one overall running back. Derrick Henry with the Titans. You got to remember, the Titans just added Julio Jones. They also changed offensive coordinators. That offensive coordinator is going to be able to prove something, which means I think Henry gets less touches this year. And so I think Henry goes the wrong direction. Barkley, you have health issues, but I like him a lot. And I think the Giants are going to be good. So what I'm going to go with here is I think you have to take McCaffrey first, but I think Alvin Kamara is right behind him. He is going to be such a focal point of that offense, and I'm a huge Kamara fan as well. Now, we're getting a little bit of kickback, Dad. No confidence in the Titans. Please tell the fine folks who are listening why we don't have confidence in the Titans.
Well, I mean, we've been around that a while, and I just don't. I don't know that they have the coaching to be able to handle it. Again, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Julio Jones. I think they can keep running the ball. It would make sense to run the ball and set up for the big pass rather than changing to spreading it out and doing a lot of passing. They've got the people that can catch it now, and I would think they'll keep running with Derrick Henry. I think when you look at fantasy stuff, Derrick Henry's a runner, not necessarily a runner and a pass catcher, and you want to get a guy that can do both. As far as, being, again, you don't want to pass very long on Derrick Henry, and people won't. But, again, time will tell about the Titans, but, the history's not there, and they don't have a team that's just stacked to where, well, they've got to win. And, like I said, Indianapolis is really poised to be good. And they're a more solid team down the line without a doubt.
Yeah, if I'm wrong, I'll admit it, and that'll be fine. But the Titans, I'm telling you, they're going down this year. That's not going to be pretty. They may still make the playoffs, but I'm just telling you, they're not going to be as good this year. And I think fantasy value across the board is painful for Tennessee this year. I think there's a lot of pressure. At least I think it's going to be felt as pressure from the coaching staff to get Julio Jones involved, to get A.J. Brown more touches, which means you're putting everything into the Ryan Tannehill basket. And although he's had some success, and even in fantasy, he's had some value, if you put pressure on it and now you're putting your eggs in the Ryan Tannehill basket, you're asking for trouble. Derrick Henry is a fine running back. Julio Jones is a fine receiver. A.J. Brown is a fine receiver. Ryan Tannehill is an above average quarterback, maybe. But nonetheless, maybe there's value with some of those guys. But in my opinion, I stay away from the Titans as much as possible, especially for important positions there, as much as a number one overall pick. If I take a Titan number one in my draft, come check on me. Something's going on. Something's wrong. I've been kidnapped or something. I don't know what's happening there. Fantasy football right around the corner. And, Dad, I'm excited. We're getting ready to really push into football conversation. We're going to do some college football previews here coming up very soon. We're going to be starting up into our NFL preview in August as well, and we'll go through every team in the NFL and break those down. We're going to talk fantasy. We're going to talk picks. We're going to talk about win losses, all that stuff when we get into the football conversation, the NFL conversation in August. But here in July, not next episode, but coming up pretty soon, we're going to start talking college football. We're going to break down some of the bigger conferences and talk about some of the bigger teams as well and continue to cover those things there. As far as it goes right now, like I said, Giannis is going to play tonight in Phoenix. And so that's exciting news for him. And, Dad, through 10 holes, Aaron Rodgers, Bryson DeChambeau up 1 on Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady as of this very moment. And we're excited to announce we've had it from day one, Dad, and we're waiting for it to be officially done. But Aaron Rodgers will be signing an extension and playing for the Packers. You heard it here. We've told you from the get-go that's what's going to happen. And so very, very soon, we will be able to break that news to you once it gets all wrapped up there for Aaron. He's got to finish out his golf tournament, though, of course, before he can sign his contract extension there as well.
It will happen on the 18th hole.
On the 18th hole. So I'm not reporting that. Dad is he's the owner, so he would know. But I think it's going to happen a few days after. But nonetheless, soon. It's coming very, very soon as well. All right, Dad, any other thoughts before we go tonight?
No, I don't. Like I said, it's exciting that football's coming up. It was interesting to start to think about fantasy football. There are a lot of good players. I think it's going to be much easier to draft through the first 2 or 3 rounds because there's just going to be a lot of good players. And like I said, you talk about some of the older guys slip a little bit. There's some young guys that at the end of the year, they might be the top guys, and there's potential in that running back group for 4 or 5 young guys to be the best of the bunch. So it'll be fun. Of course, I'd talk football. College football will be exciting. Full stadiums again. A lot of excitement there. And here in Ohio, there's always excitement about college football.
Definitely. There's a huge conversation going on Twitter right now about tight ends and fantasy value. I got into the conversation right before we started the show, so I haven't been able to be a part of the conversation, but my phone's blowing up. TJ Hawkinson. Everybody's big on TJ Hawkinson from the Lions. Tight end. I said he won't even be a top 5 tight end. I'm getting ready to defend myself. We'll do that in another episode as we talk about more fantasy football as we get closer to the season and throughout the NFL season. We'll be talking fantasy football there as well. We'll be having some guests on and different things throughout the time also. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We are sponsored by Skull Candy and by Yeti. Please go visit using the links in the podcast notes or the YouTube video description. Go and get yourself a new set of dime earbuds, $24.99 from Skull Candy. They look amazing. And then also Yeti coolers. They've got luggage now. Go visit Yeti Coolers. Use that link so they'll know that we sent you as well. We will be back on Thursday night live at 8 o'clock. We've got some guests coming on. We're going to be talking NBA Finals and Chris Paul, possibly some NHL stuff going on as well. We're still finalizing the guest lineup for Thursday, but nonetheless, we're back Thursday at 8 o'clock. If you've enjoyed the program, please rate, review, and share anywhere that you can. And subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Dad, thanks for being with us. Everybody else, thank you for tuning in tonight. Until next time, we'll see you around the sports stove.